Mythico Studios is proud to present a Mythic Earth battle report. In today's battle to maintain the eternal balance, we see the Incas versus the Western Federation. The Western Federation are being led by none other than Big Mike, who's an experienced general and one of the core game designers here at Mythico Studios. Big Mike's force is led by an Akasita warlord. Also includes a bear woman with a couple of bodyguards, some Tatanka, a couple of units of Kit Fox Society, the dog soldiers who are unbelievable in this battle, a behemoth in the form of a Thunderbird, and I mentioned the Tatankas already, though they didn't do much in this battle. They did manage to threaten one of the flanks for the entire game. Big Mike's opponent is Lord Mortis. That's me. I am leading an Inca force led by a general mounted on a spirit jaguar with some bodyguards. As always, I love my Cusco warriors, so I try to bring in as many Cusco warriors in small unit sizes. So I have 2 units of Cusco warriors, a couple of units of Antisuyo archers. My most favorite unit in the game, honestly, is the Condor Rider, so I always bring them. In this battle, they didn't do very well, but I just love the model, so they always come with me. And for some massive support, I brought in a Maris. In Mythic Earth, before you do anything on the tabletop, you roll off to see which alignment your forces will be fighting for. That's either the Ever-Living or the Ever-Changing. In this battle report, I won off the roll-off, so I chose to represent the Ever-Living, and by default, Big Mike represents the Ever-Changing. While the winner of the alignment roll chooses what alignment to battle on, the loser of that roll chooses which primary scenario or balance of the way scenario the battle will be fought on. Devotions to the way scenarios are the secondary scenarios that are alignment specific. So since Big Mike went with the Ever-Changing, he randomly picks, as I do as well, he randomly pick one of the available secondary scenarios, and in this case, whatever secondary scenarios are available to the Ever-Changing, he randomly picked cannibalism for the Devourer King. I was representing the Ever-Living with my Incas, and I randomly chose Put the Spirits to Rest, Devotions to the Way, secondary scenario. Another element that is dependent on which alignment you're fighting under is your magic spells. In this case, since Big Mike is fighting for the Ever-Changing, he gets to choose the spells in his Ever-Changing Force Roster Magic Spells section. He went with 3 spells for his level 3, 1 spell per level, magic user level. His first spell was Thunderclap, then it was Wildfire, and Summon Downburst. Summon Downburst really had a big effect on this particular game, and it was actually a lot of fun to see what it does. The Incas, fighting under the Ever-Living banner, chose 2 spells for their level 2 magic user, the Oracle, and they chose Empower Inti's Spirit Alpacas, another one of these awesome Inca spells, and then of course the classic Inti's Guiding Hand, which is, if you're playing Ever-Living, is one of those spells that can be very, very helpful to the Incas. In Mythic Earth, you build a dice pool, which is used to, in the first turn, to deploy, and then those dice are put next to each unit, and that dictates how you activate your units. After we picked all our magic spells, our primary scenarios, and secondary scenarios, as is always the case, we do our deployment roll-off, and this is also our initiative roll-off to see how we're going to activate the units throughout the first turn of the game. This happens during the first turn of the game. Here you see Big Mike's deployment. First turn roll, he gets 3 5s, 3 4s, a 1, and a 2. Those are the dice that he will assign to his units as he deploys them, and then those dice in descending order with the highest die first will mean that those units get activated in that order, starting with the highest die. My role won the initiative in as far as activating units first, because I rolled a 6. Big Mike did not have any 6s, so I would activate a unit in the first turn before he does. I then have 3 5s, a 4, a 3, a 2, and a 1. And again, these are dice that will be assigned to the units as we deploy them. They will remain next to the unit, and then in that way we've already laid out what units move in which order. And starting with the descending order, I started laying out my first unit, which was the archers, and then you can see how the rest of the units within both forces were deployed. On the right hand side of this battle report, you will see a ledger and a map that shows you what the numbers under each unit bubble represents. So for example, on the Inca side, on the bottom left hand corner of the screen, you'll see a 1 under an Inca unit. That happens to be the Condor Riders. Actually, it's a really good unit to use as an example, because you'll see what happens in the battle, but they don't last that long in this battle. So this way you can see what units are doing what throughout this upcoming battle report. The unit activation dice pool dice have all been used up. This is now how both forces have deployed and are ready to commence the battle. A key component of every Mythic Earth game is to keep in mind two very important things, and that is your primary scenario and your secondary scenario. Turn 1 begins with the archers. So the Inca archers move up. You see them moving up next to the pyramid there. And then they open up and manage to actually kill 4 of their enemy, actually successfully hitting the unit. They also give it a unit brave status marker, or also known as a pin. Those you carry along the battle, and can get rid of them in some instances, or you keep adding those to the unit. So in this case, the Kit Fox Warriors lost 4 models and they got a pin. Okay, remember I mentioned the Condor Riders? Well, now the Bear Woman says, okay, you're gonna kill my guys? I am going to get involved in this battle. So Mike decides to activate his Bear Woman next, and she is a powerful magic user. She is a level 3, so she has the 3 spells that we pointed out at the beginning of this battle report. And this is where my first mistake is realized, because Mike has recognized that my Condor Riders are a nice juicy target for one of her spells. So she successfully cast Summon Downburst onto my Condor Riders. Now Summon Downburst is a magic missile. It does direct hits as a shooting attack, but it really is devastating against a flying unit. I had not paid attention to my deployment of these Condor Riders. I typically just default to putting them on a flank because they're a really nice threatening unit. But I totally completely spaced out and forgot that the Bear Woman was on the battlefield, that she was a level 3 and she was going to have a 30-inch range. So if she successfully cast some of her spells, I wasn't going to be able to do much about it. So Mike very smartly chose my Condor Riders, and they died to a bird. Needless to say, that hurt. But as I mentioned before, losing units in Mythic Earth is just going to happen. This is a tough game. There's a lot of damage that can be put out in a variety of different ways. This was a mistake that I paid for pretty early on. So the Bear Woman is now free, having avenged her Western Federation side by not only drawing second blood, but by being the first one to delete a unit from the table. She then casts Wildfire. Fire is really a very important tool for the Western Federation. They can set up these fire markers on the battlefield, and in this case, her second spell, the Wildfire spell, put a fire marker right next to the offending Inca Archer unit, which managed to kill 4 of the Kit Fox Warriors, and in the process kill 1 of the Inca Archers. Having seen the devastation that the Bear Woman caused on the Incas, the second unit of Inca Archers moves up in an attempt to try to finish off the Kit Fox, and they do manage to kill the last man standing in that unit. So they remove that unit from the board. So you see there on the map that the unit has been crossed out. The Incas choose to put pressure on the center, so they move up a unit of Cusco Warriors with spears in order to keep the objectives in mind. In this case, I have to build altars, as Mike does as well, but my secondary objective requires that I place a grave token somewhere in close to the deployment zone, my enemy's deployment zone. So I'm looking to put pressure on the middle and start to set up a situation where my units in turns later on in the game can start achieving certain battlefield objectives. Both the Incas and the Western Federation are starting to make their moves. You can see the plan for both forces starting to develop here as the Incas are once again trying to push for the center of the battlefield. The Western Federation starts doing the same by moving in some dog soldiers. Eventually they will also start moving in their Crow Owner Society unit, and so really both players are now configuring their force deployments and their movements into a way that they can put additional pressures onto the center of the board. If you control the center of the board in this particular battle with this combination of primary scenarios and secondary scenarios, the goal of both players is to try to gain that foothold. That gives you the ability to protect one of the flanks, left or right flanks, which means that you can then start putting down those markers and objectives without too much worry of the enemy coming around and disturbing building altars or putting down markers from your various secondary units. So the center became a very important position, and we are both going to be putting pressure onto the center of the map throughout the entire game. So a lot of the action happened in the first 2-3 turns, which is what we are choosing to really kind of highlight in this battle report. Magic was a powerful force in this particular game. My Oracle decided to get involved in the battle, and so he cast his first spell, which was Inti's Guiding Hand. Inti's Guiding Hand is a wonderful spell that the Incas use on a regular basis. If you happen to be lucky enough to fight for the Ever-Living, in this case, you choose a unit that can shoot. I chose the archers position centrally to for them to shoot whether they've been activated or not, and they will shoot, in this case, the dog soldiers in the middle. That is a tough Western Federation unit, and as you can see throughout the battle report, not only are they tough in that they can dish out pain, but they can also take it like champs. I'm going to say that my Oracle was fairly distracted for some reason, maybe something to do with his spellcasting being not great in this game. So magic is one of those tools in Mythic Earth that you're just basically using to support whatever your main drive is to achieve your objectives. His magic as a level 2 was not as powerful necessarily, in the sense that he didn't have as many choices as the Bear Woman, but still very good. But in this case, he kept on failing, for some reason, Empower Inti Spirit Alpacas, which is a really nice spell from the Ever-Living that he was attempting to cast in order to continue to whittle down that unit of dog soldiers. Another unit of Kit Fox Society warriors set an additional fire, in this case in front of them, and the idea is to start protecting that flank. As I mentioned before, you really want to start controlling that center, so he's putting fires around that center position to try to impede movement and access to his left flank on the center. That is followed by the Tatanka charging down the left flank to position themselves for a flanking charging maneuver, I'm assuming here, because that would be the right idea. As you can see from this battle report, what I mentioned about the center is exactly what we're both attempting to do. In this case, I decided to move my Sapa Warlord on Spirit Jaguar towards the center with looking to charge one of those weakened central units at some point, or to support because of his speed and his strength on the charge. He and his Spirit Jaguar bodyguard can hit very, very hard. So I'm really just looking to pick a weaker unit somewhere along that center or along the flanks to try and lap around to get behind his lines if possible, but also to get further upfield so that my warrior units can start laying out altered. So my warlord move up, so he's like, okay, I'll send my warlord in. So once again, he reinforces his central position, so he brings in his warlord. Again, Western Federation can hit you like a ton of bricks, especially his warlord or a Western Federation warlord. So he's in there to reinforce. Now you can see how the map is developing nicely around that central position. There are some fire markers there. One of them is protecting his left flank. The other one is harassing my left flank. The Maras. Maras is one of my favorite behemoths in the game. And I do love the Incas, and I do love my Maras. My Maras has always done well for me in all of the battles that I've ever fought. So he is moving up to support his general. Again, continuing the theme of this battle report, it is about controlling the center. I tried at one point thinking that I might be able to lap around the left flank, but obviously that would only open up my right flank. And Mike, in having conversations with Mike, he also mentioned that that was his original thinking, to try to lap around one of the flanks. But we both ended up refusing each other's flanks, and so that forced us to focus on the center and see who can push harder and who can try to really make a difference in those central positions. The Condor Riders would have been very helpful here, but because of my initial deployment mistake, I don't have the mobility of that unit on my left flank to try and reinforce one of the weak exposed sides on the Western Federation. We're limping into turn 2. Really the decisive turns 2 and 3. As you saw in the first turn, we're really pushing for that central position. Turn 2, on the center left of the screen, you see our unit activation dice pools. That is what we both rolled to get this game, the second turn of the game going. And before any of the units move, you have to figure out what happens to those fires. The fires will move as part of the Western Federation fire rules, so they moved away from the Incas in one instance on my left flank, and they moved a little further away and closer to the Incas on his left flank. So that's sorted. The unit activation dice pool is sorted. Bravely, Big Mike chooses to move up, push for that center, and build on altar. Smart and aggressive move here, because as you can see, the center has an enormous amount of pressure from the Incas, but he felt that it was a good opportunity based on what he was thinking may happen in the next series of unit actions to move, put pressure on that center again, and build an altar. Instead of attacking the altar, which I really should have done, I chose to go and continue to pepper those dog soldiers. They really worried me because I know how good they are, and so I took my unit of archers and focused my shooting. I managed to put another pin on them, and I also managed to cause another wound to the unit. So I was slowly but surely really getting that unit down. One of the themes of this game was Lord Mortis could not make an armor roll if his life depended on it, when actually the life of my models depended on it. And boy, I failed almost every single armor roll that was crucial. And in this case, the Crow Honor Society opened up on my Sapa Warlord unit with the Spirit Jaguars, and they killed 3. So yeah, that was rough. Typically, I would just laugh off these arrows, but not this time. So whatever happened there, the ever-living gods decided, no, I don't think so. So I lost 3 of my bodyguards. That hurts that unit tremendously, since a lot of that hitting power has now gone away. But good call, good risky call on Mike's part to focus on my Sapa Warlord, because that is one of those units that could truly push that center and have it collapse on Mike. So he focused on one of the hammers on my army to try to minimize the risk of that happening, and it worked. And continuing the theme, and that's what this battle report should be called, Battle for the Center. The Incas continued to pressurize that center. This time the second unit of archers opened up on the dog soldiers and managed to kill another one, put another pin in the unit, so this unit is really now taking it. But they don't really seem to mind, because they proved to be super tough. And actually, I think this was, along with the Bear Woman, the other unit vying for unit of the game. Things were now really kind of falling apart for the Incas. The Thunderbird decided to join in the action and attack my unit of archers on my left flank. They miserably failed their brave test and ran off the board. So you see him move up. Again, it is all about trying to collapse that center, and that unit of archers had been a pain in the butt for for the Western Federation. So the Thunderbird had just about enough of it and came in and deleted it and made them run away. Unlike my Oracle, the Bear Woman was really on her game this game. She opened up with her magic again, this time set up another marker. You see what's happening with these fire markers. Really kind of a nice mechanic for the Western Federation to reinforce whatever it is that they're trying to do. And as we discussed now a dozen times, they're trying to reinforce that center, really control it. And so Mike smartly again sets up a fire token right in front of my units, which makes it very difficult for me to move, and it actually threatens the units by hitting them directly, or maybe later on moving and hitting them again if the fire does not dissipate. So Bear Woman is involved again, and she continues to be involved, and then the next spell she cast the spell that decimated my Condor Riders, and she cast it onto a unit of the warriors and manages to kill a few of them as well. In a replay of my Oracle's actions earlier on in the game, he starts by casting Inti's Guiding Hand onto a unit of archers. The archers proceed to shoot the dog soldiers, who lose more units, more models I should say, and now that really is putting pressure on that unit. They continue to be whittled down, and pretty much I thought, this is it, I'll be able to get rid of them, maybe not kind of pop that center a little bit more. But the dog soldiers would not have it, as they eventually ended up passing 2 brave tests by rolling 2 1s, and 1 on each of their brave tests. So they were not going anywhere. And par for the course, my Oracle tried to cast the alpaca spell, but somehow he could not call up these alpacas from the spirit world. So he once again failed. I mean, not only failed, he failed miserably. And so no alpacas made their appearance at all during this game. Big Mike saw an opportunity here now, so he moved in his Axita Warlord and attacked my unit of Cusco warriors and just decimated them. So came in, saw the weakened unit, really punished them, and then just managed to get himself back into position by destroying the unit. He was allowed to make a consolidation move, which he smartly used to reposition himself to hold the left flank of his center and threaten anybody else who dared move up to the center of the Western Federation battlefield. Just to show you that the Western Federation was truly blessed by the ever-changing in this game, the Maras got into the action, ran in there, took a bunch of tomahawks to the face, did not care because of his regeneration rule, came in and killed more dog soldiers. At this point, the dog soldier unit, I believe, was down to 1 model, and that model once again passed his brave test on a 1, if you can believe it. I couldn't believe it, but it happened. While we were busy battling it out in the center of the field, Mike took advantage of one slightly open side of my right flank to move a unit of Kit Fox Society warriors to build another altar. So now Mike is up 2-0 on the scenario, the primary scenario. But not to be left behind, the Incas moved up, and on his weakened right flank, on my left flank, I moved up to build an altar on his side. So now it's 2-1. The game is still really tight, and we're both still vying for that center position. I was trying to now force the issue on Mike's left flank by attacking that Kit Fox unit, which had moved closer into us, to the Incas, to build that altar. So I took the advantage that I saw open up in that side of the field and charged in, killing 4 of them. So it was looking good on the Incas' right flank. But as I mentioned before, these Western Federation warriors simply did not want to lose a brave test. So they didn't go anywhere. They lost the fight with all those modifiers because you have to count all of the pin tests versus your leadership when you take that brave test. And yeah, they rolled a 1 again. Turns 3 and 4 just really cleared out what was left of the center units. As you can see, it is still 2-1. The Incas are down to Amaras, the Oracle, and 1 unit of Cusco warriors. The Western Federation, this is at the end of turn 5. have their warlord still in play, the bear woman, and their thunderbird. So they have a much better shot now at really sort of continuing to score those objectives. There wasn't a whole lot I can do at the end of turn 5 in some instances, other than to try and kill off the rest of the objective markers. And we both actually tried, and none of that kind of came to fruition. So at the end of turn 5, we called the game. Deservedly, the Western Federation came out triumphant and won 2-1. Hope you enjoyed this battle report, and make sure to check out mythicamericas.com for all of the free rules and the things that you need to play games on Mythic Earth. Also, don't forget to join our communities on Facebook and Discord, and to keep up with all the latest happenings around Mythic Earth, also check out and listen to our Mythicast. We'll catch you in the next one, and thanks again for watching this battle report.